Welcome along to this session we have this afternoon around modern workplace. As you can see from the title, power your people anywhere, anytime. Hopefully, some of the content you'll find very interesting. We at Bytes are a leading technology solutions and service provider for the UK market. So we have a lot of exposure to some of the initiatives and some of the projects that a lot of our customers are working on. Have around 4,000 trading customers that range from corporate SMEs through to global enterprise, as well as the UK public sector, for which we have a dedicated focus team. So this is a real important area of focus for us, modern workplace, and that's the department that I'm currently heading up at Bytes. My experience really is focused on EUC. Worked a number of years in consultancy, working on high development projects, specifically within the NHS in the public sector, and before that in the financial insurance sectors as well. So had hopefully by now gives you a bit of an understanding of what we're going to be able to discuss for the next half hour or so. But just want to sort of set the scene as to why this is a relevant subject. We're seeing a lot of challenges that a lot of organisations are facing. And I think there isn't a day that goes past, if you're working with modern workplace, where hybrid work isn't a subject that's spoken about. It's a trend, and the whether you call it hybrid working, flexible working, or whatever it might be referred to, essentially the trend is as a result of what we experienced during the pandemic, where perhaps everyone was forced into the situation where they had to work from home. Well, nobody really wants to go back to 100% office based working. And we're seeing a trend that most organizations are supporting that now. That's a known fact. Everyone's familiar with that. But as a result, there are some other things that we're seeing that are a knock-on effect to this. For instance, that second statistic there around people feeling disconnected is a knock-on effect of this environment that we're now supporting. Um, these are some of the things that we can do that we're seeing a lot of organisations are looking to address. Burnout is also something that people are looking at. So how can they support the well-being of their employees, making sure they're looking after their employees to a point where they're not burning out and seeing productivity decrease. And then we have the age-old issues of how to support technology. There's a lot of applications that people are still having to support. So moving to a hybrid environment, moving to a flexible working arrangement, perhaps if you've arranged for all of your employees now to have a laptop, well, how do you get these 200 plus apps service to your staff that are out there in a way that's going to make it functional and working for them? These are challenges that are real and issues that we're seeing regularly with the customers that we're speaking to. And then BYOD, it's kind of one of those subjects that went away and has come back. And we're certainly seeing that the use of personal devices is now no longer something that is considered something of a nice to have. It's actually expected by most employees. So the ability to be able to synchronize your work and your personal work lifestyle onto the same device is something that employees like, and it leads to employee satisfaction a lot of the time. So these are real challenges that we're seeing across the customers that we're speaking to. The whole idea of modern workplace at Bytes is really to support any of these challenges, but really try and meet the requirements that people may have around other areas, like perhaps it's diverse workforce or IT skills gaps, supporting legacy infrastructure and their journey to the cloud. At Bytes, we have a very secure and strong relationship with Microsoft, and so because of this, we've seen that a lot of customers who are using Microsoft as their core technology come to us for that advice around what they should do, how they should accelerate their journey to the cloud, how they can improve their user experience for their workforce, and really try and support that idea of being able to access your applications anywhere, anytime. Um, but at the same time, providing a very, very good user experience. Now, the challenge might seem difficult to address, particularly when we see that there's transformational trends that have shifted the mindset and it's disrupted usual business practices. And technology is being used is being relied now on to transform these strategies. But what we're seeing, this is a real opportunity to be stronger, better equipped, have a better, more engaged and satisfied workforce, and really be prepared for anything that comes around the corner. Who knows when the next pandemic's going to hit, for instance. So the question is, what are we doing to create the modern workplace journey? And we really sort of seek advice from what there is from both what we're seeing from the trends from our customers, also from the trends in the market. Gartner have described the workplace as having two distinct facets, which fit each other's concepts. And that kind of concept is really, I suppose you could liken it to fitting a round peg into a square hole. And that old way of doing things is what we really tried to do during COVID. Now we've got to get the right resources and the right technology to fit the right environment that we're working with. So to do that, most people are looking at Microsoft as being their foundation of their technology space. And that's why we've worked very closely with Microsoft to really see how we can accelerate that for our customers. So with that in view, we've just released a new video that I'd like to play to you now. Take a look at it. It's only about 2 minutes long, but it should just describe how the Microsoft and a partner like Bytes can really help you accelerate that journey to your workplace, modern workplace.
Today's organizations are faced with challenges never experienced before. The need to accommodate remote or hybrid working styles, the increased security threats due to these new working styles, the need to reduce costs for employees and businesses, as well as meeting fatigue and employee dissatisfaction. IT professionals, therefore, need to reduce complexity and cost, whilst empowering their distributed workforces to be collaborative, productive, and efficient in the modern world. They need to be smarter with Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 provides simple, secure solutions to enable a productive workforce and open lines of communication in a hybrid world, ensuring business goals are met without compromising employee satisfaction and well-being. In short, it gives you everything you need to become a truly modern workplace. But the nature of this transition will be unique for each business, and that's where Bytes can help. We provide tailored agnostic solutions to support business evolution and growth in the complex modern world. We offer a wide range of workshops and services, enabling a smooth transition to M365, ensuring your users have the workspace they need to perform at their best, and much more. But a modern workplace doesn't stop at Microsoft 365. As experts in unified communications, desktop management and application management, our team of specialists can maximize your Microsoft investment with complementary technology. Bytes' dedication to modernizing the workplace has led to being awarded Microsoft Partner of the Year for operational excellence and achieving 5 Microsoft Cloud Partner Solution designations. To find out more or to book a call with a specialist, email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk.
One of the things that that video was really good at highlighting was the fact that every single organization's setup will be different, it will be unique. And that's why it's important that we at Bytes don't kind of treat you as a single size, that there's a single solution that fits every single organization out there, that because that's just not the reality. And that's why we've created content like this that can really help customers with this journey to modern workplace. What we see here is on screen right now is what we would define as that a starting way of getting to modern workplace. And really, whether you're achieved or whether you've achieved some of these or not, there will be some on this journey that are still in need of addressing. For instance, employee experience is something that we're seeing a lot of focus from businesses at the moment. Understanding the user behaviors, the workflows, the applications, the services. But all of these things are things that customers are very keen to understand in depth to get the better and the best out of their employees so they can become more productive. Um, and that's really sort of in line with the new way of working, this flexible way of working that is trying to be supported across organizations right now. So certainly, whether you are at the very start of this journey, where you want to kind of look at whether it's employee experience and secure access, or whether it's more about fulfilling that workplace productivity and using all these tool sets to really enhance the way your employees work. We're working both with Microsoft and our third party partners to really help with those enhancements for your business. I think there's three distinct areas which you can start to have a look at, which really help you on this journey. Desktop management has been something that a lot of businesses have had a look at ways in which they can really get to grips with initially during the pandemic, and that is something that we're now seeing has gone full circle. So initially it was perhaps okay, let's just put best endeavors to try and make sure that we can manage our desktops, manage the user experience, manage whether the users can get access to a desktop, no matter how they do it. Now organizations are better equipped and have a better understanding of how they want to get there. But we're still seeing that there is a bit of a skills gap in this area. We're still starting to see that there is a real need to manage that a lot better. I'm going to take you through something that Bytes are doing with customers to really help with that, which was highlighted in that video around Bytes Managed Workspace. That incorporates some of the areas in which it talks about here also around application management, because what it really ultimately comes down to is how you can deliver those applications in a secure manner to your end users, so that they can work efficiently doing so. And that's something that's just not as easy as okay, let's just get an app to end users. That's the reason why you've got the likes of virtual desktop or virtual application workloads that can serve these and stream these applications to users. That's the reason why a lot of organizations are looking to move to SaaS based applications. But that at the same time presents challenges in itself. So there's lots of things that we're seeing are areas of focus for organizations, but are not as simple as just saying, right, let's just do that. Let's just do desktop management. Let's do application management. And the same is really true with collaboration. Um, we're all familiar with the tools like Teams and Zoom to make calls, but it's really seeing how those tool sets can be used to make your teams more productive in the workplace. So how are they integrating with your meeting workspaces? How are they integrating with your voice technologies? These are all questions that are being raised regularly by a lot of organizations that we're speaking to, and it shouldn't any longer be difficult. We've just gone through a process at Bytes of removing an old PBX that we were reliant on, which nobody used, the soft the soft phone technology that was provided for us. But now we're using Teams as that voice enablement. Everybody's using it, and it's being really well adopted. So that's the point. You've got a great tool like Teams. We should be using it to the benefit of our staff, and that's the sort of thing that we're helping customers with. One of the things that we're introducing to a lot of our customers is the concept of this workplace innovation stack. So if you think about one of the things that was achieved during the pandemic was connectivity. One of the things we just wanted to make sure was all of our end users were connected. And whether you used Intune to make sure that you managed all those devices, whether you used something like Azure Virtual Desktop to provide a solution, whether you used Microsoft Teams, or you used some kind of enablement to help users with their Windows devices, it was making sure that you could manage those desktops, manage those employees as best you can, and get better connected. And that's what was achieved through the pandemic. Most organisations did a sterling job of really achieving being able to do that. But what's the next phase? Well, as you can see on the right hand side, it's really trying to enhance that employee experience. It's really trying to enhance how you improve lifecycle management of both your applications and your devices. So what can you do? Well, it's all about making sure that you support that productive life cycle of your employees. And what we're doing is we're introducing a lot of third parties and enhancements into the tool set here that can really help you on that journey. And this is part of that workplace innovation stack. So using Microsoft as perhaps the foundation for what you use as your technology stack, and then building upon that really would make your Microsoft investment so much better. And then you can get to an innovation set where that lifecycle management and that ability to accelerate what you want to do from a cloud perspective is really made a reality for you. So these are the kind of partnerships that we have in place at Bytes, where we're able to accelerate those kind of things, that are able to help you with that journey to modern workplace. But introducing the concept of a workplace innovation stack, it's looking at those tools and processes in order to make that a solution, a possibility for you. Now, one thing that we have certainly seen is a significant challenge for a lot of customers is device management. The reason for this is we put this down into three areas: complex deployments, resource constraints, and management. And when you think about complex deployments, if we think about the way we perhaps traditionally deployed Windows, it was done all based on an image. So you'd use something like ghosting to make a custom image, and then you would deploy that ghost image to a load of other machines over and over and over again. And there's I can't say how many times I went into an NHS trust and just saw there was a dark room where someone was sat just doing this process over and over again. Well, that kind of is considered something that's very, very yesteryear. And you look at how autopilot works now, it's a way where you can define profiles and those same drivers, settings, policies, and the applications from a centralized cloud portal and push them down to your end users. So you're actually provisioning all of these onto an already existing image that exists on the device that the end user is using. Those profiles are assigned through Azure AD and Intune. So if you have this all set up, it's something that can work really well, and all changes can be done in real time. So it can be done before or after shipping, and your end users never feel like they have to have something re-imaged. You don't have to take the device back to IT to get it addressed. This is something well, it's a very automatic process that really sort of is very modern and should be something that most organizations are looking at as a way of provisioning their laptops and devices to end users. And this really just kind of shows that when a user unboxes their new PC, their new laptop, their profile and apps and policies are all delivered to that end user, and they're able to carry on working fully set up, ready to use. What we've seen in reality is that a lot of these deployments, a lot of organizations are investing in autopilot and Intune. So they've built a deployment profile. But what's actually happening at this point is the device is actually getting shipped to a desktop team. So the desktop team are then unboxing that device, they're preparing the device, they're loading the profiles, they're loading those drivers. They're using autopilot to do that, but actually the desktop team are pretty much going back to what was happening before in that dark room where you were just imaging loads and loads of devices. And really, what we're seeing is that that's resulting in misconfiguration. A lot of apps are not being deployed the way they're expected to be. That then leads to remote changes, remote support. And really, I mean, you could say that this is putting, pressing the pointless button, because what we're really trying to do here is get away from IT having to interact with the end users. This should be an automated process where the device ships to the end users directly, and there's no interaction with your desktop teams. So, with the life cycle of a device, if someone was to leave the organization, the device should be able to be re-provisioned for future use through autopilot again. But what we're seeing is that because of these complex deployments, what's happening is the device has to go back to a desktop team, and then that same process is having to be done through autopilot. That's just the first issue that we're seeing because of the complexity of autopilot and Intune. We're seeing that this is something of a problem that many organisations are facing. Another issue that we're seeing is resource constraints. Now, there has been something of a trend that has been highlighted called the Great Resignation, um, and this has affected the IT world as well. So when you think about Gartner's research of an ideal end user to IT service desk ratio, they recommend that for every IT service desk person or desktop person, that one person should be, in an ideal world, only be supporting 70 end users. According to IT discussion threads that are out there, that they've reckoned there's an informed average of around 242 users to one service desk worker. That's probably around about the right size. If you were going to be honest with yourself, we see a lot more out there, and if your organisation is working outside of those figures, that's a worrying trend, because as soon as there's someone on leave or as soon as there's someone off sick, that doubles, and that becomes an issue. Now, what we're seeing as part of this great resignation and this resource constraint is a lot of people, 77%, in fact, have said that they would stay with their current organisation if they had better opportunities for internal promotion, lateral moves, were supported with training and development to move into a new role within the business. Well, are they going to want to stay in their position as an IT service desk user or a desktop user, a desktop support person, where they've just got to constantly image devices over and over and over again, like we talked about before, where you've got a dark room where they're just imaging devices. 57% of employees say that it's easier to just switch jobs for promotion. 41% of workers say they're likely to leave their employer the next year. And we saw a worrying trend. 4 million people quit their jobs in April 2021. In fact, there was a new statistic that came out from Computer Weekly this week, where it said that 9 million people quit their jobs in April 2022, but only 5 million returned to IT. So there's definitely a skill shortage of people in the IT industry. So when we talk about the Great Resignation, when we talk about these ideal trends and the ideal end user to IT service desk ratio, we talk about what the ambition is for people who work in IT. IT industry is not immune to the trends of wanting to sort of have a better life, and a lot of people have thought about their working situation, particularly during the pandemic, and have thought that perhaps desktop support isn't for them. If your if your team are focused on desktop support, and that's what they're doing, they're just working on those kind of support requests and remote support requests and just provisioning desktops as part of their day job, it's worth reviewing that, because what we're seeing is that the opportunities for them to move on to better jobs in the IT industry is something that we're certainly seeing as a bit of a trend, and there is definitely a skills shortage within the IT industry at the moment. So further to resource constraints, we also see that management also is a big challenge for device management. The reason for this is that when you think about what is needed for device management, it's not just managing the device. So it's not just Intune that's required. You need other areas of focus. It might be remote support software. You need to have perhaps knowledge of how to support the identity, the VPN client, the peripheral devices. Perhaps you've got to have knowledge of how to understand the drive encryption and the endpoint security. Perhaps there's other third-party tools like screen lock, screensaver tools, and perhaps you've got to commit to Cyber Essentials Plus, and that sort of requires that you also have further governance that's being introduced as part of their day job that they need to be on top of. There's things like printers, IT asset management, um, access to home and office Wi-Fi networks, which perhaps you've got to put policies in place for. You've got application control and how you're going to provision and secure applications. You've always got the problem of what happens if this device does get lost and stolen. And then what about Windows Hello? That is a whole piece in itself. So as you can see, managing a device is a lot more complex than just saying, okay, let's just use Intune. It's not going to do all of this on screen. Um, let's use Intune and Autopilot, which we talk to a lot of organizations and we ask about device, what they're doing around device management, and they tell us we're using Intune and Autopilot. But as we've seen, they're using Intune and Autopilot, but they're using it in completely the wrong way. Um, they've got resource constraints because a lot of their staff are fed up of just using Intune and Autopilot the way it's being used. It's supposed to be an out of the box experience for end users, and they're focusing on a lot of what we're seeing on screen, which is making it a lot more complicated and difficult for the IT departments to have to deal with. So, with all of that in view, what Bytes have done is we've worked very closely with Microsoft and our partners to create a service called Bytes Managed Workspace. The idea around Bytes Managed Workspace is to help that with that provision of high, secure, and productive end user devices. But it's a service that can help maintain and secure your platform. So that zero touch deployment, that's exactly what it does. It helps with that. It makes it secure, so you have none of those worries around some of those areas of device management that were highlighted on the screen previously. It does improve the user experience because the IT professionals that you work with as part of this service are ones who are doing this day in day out as part of this service. So it's not there's no skills gap, there's no difficulty or skills um, difficulties of finding the right people to do the right job. We've got the right people in the right place to be able to support this out of the box experience for your end users, and it's completely supports that whole self-service arrangement. So when you think about the build, when you want a new device to be shipped to an end user, it can come directly from a factory, be shipped to an end user, and that end user logs on with the profile, and the profile can be downloaded from Autopilot with all of their applications. But even before that device ships to the end user, there are certain things that perhaps need to be done to that device in order to make sure that it's secure. Perhaps there's asset tagging that needs to be done. Perhaps the BIOS needs to be secured. Perhaps there's a load of bloatware that needs to be removed from the operating system. Perhaps there's a certain amount of applications or endpoint security that needs to be enabled on the device. in order to meet your Cyber Essentials Plus governance. These are sort of things that can be done pre-factory as a service by Bytes before they get shipped to your end users. So no longer would that device then need to be shipped to your IT team, and they get on with doing all of that pre-work and then ship it to the end user. This is done before it's shipped to the end user. And this would be a huge weight off your internal resources to be able to support this. And then further to that, you've then got the device management, that device support that can be provided as part of this service. So if there are any issues, any tickets can be logged directly with Bytes as part of this service as well. And then if that joiners, movers, leavers process is something that you also want to get to grips with, then that can also be assisted with. We've got a really good redeployment service where we can help with that, the shipping or reshipping of that device to another end user. So it's completely wiped and ready to be shipped to the new user that it's going to be shipped to. And then if it does need to be deprovisioned, we can also do that for you as part of the service. The service components are really split up into, I suppose, four distinct areas. We've got that pre-provisioning, so that before the device leaves the factory, we can do all of that readiness for the device, making sure it's configured before it even leaves the factory, ready for that provisioning to the end user. And then further to that, we've got the device management and that device support. So all of that application patching, that operating system patching, that packaging, the deployment, the security threat monitoring, stuff like remediation and device compliance remediation, all of that stuff that's perhaps being done by a desktop support team in your IT teams at the moment, that could be completely taken away from you as part of this service. And then there's that deprovisioning part on the back end as well that we can also do, which includes that reallocation or that device wiping that might be required. Now, what can be done is this can be split up into various components, so that if you just want to take advantage of the pre-provisioning element, that can be given to you as part of the service. But if you wanted to take advantage of the whole service, where you're also utilizing our team to provide that ongoing device management and device support, then that's also something that we can arrange as part of the service setup. A significant success story of this is a well-known retail company that we're working with, where they had 1,500 devices and an out-of-date device management toolset. But really interestingly, going back to those Gartner statistics that we said about what the ideal IT service desk to end user ratio should be, they had 375 devices for every single support staff that they had within the business, which, as you can see, is just not sustainable. It's not something that can be done. As soon as someone is missing from the business, as soon as someone goes on leave, or even if your best staff all of a sudden resign, you've then got a real issue on your hands to support those devices going forward and the staff going forward. So what this retail company did with us is they split the project into two phases. They wanted to be able to support their migration from Mobile Iron into Intune as part of this exercise. And then the second was to supply the devices as part of that device as a service, white glove service that we can do that's pre-factory provisioning. They, due to the success of this, they're now in this position where it's going well, and they're starting to review. And in 6 months' time, they have the intention of looking at a further fully managed service as part of this. So it just gives you an example of where we're helping customers with that journey to the modern workplace, being able to really understand how you can really get the most out of the technology that you've invested in, but using perhaps a service and to support that journey. And you'll notice from that there was no other um, technologies that were introduced, although there are other technologies at times that we do introduce into the scope to perhaps enhance that realization of that modern workplace for you. We're doing similar exercises with regards to any kind of collaboration and voice related technologies. There's a lot of success stories that we're working on where customers have come to us where they've perhaps looked at the Microsoft solution for voice, and they've bought a load of minutes and they're just not getting the value from it. And what we've been able to do is make some real cost savings, but also help them realize the benefits of using a collaboration tool like Teams, but using a third party to get the most out of what they want to do. And sometimes it's actually looking at a managed service to be able to support that team's environment. So if you haven't got the skill set in house to be able to support Teams or that voice over Teams setup, just haven't got the staff internally to be able to support that full time. Very cost effectively, that can be pushed across to a managed service, and we can support that for you. So these are all the sorts of ways in which we've certainly been helping customers on that journey. Hopefully, that just gives you an example of how we've been able to help, and that was of interest to you. Do get in touch with us. I mean, do really thank you for listening to that presentation today. Hope you have found it of benefit, but do speak to one of our team in our booth. We have our email address there that you can also contact us via if you want more details, and we'd be happy to discuss any of these kind of projects with you if you wanted to further the interest in that. But thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.